We're just going to.
There we go. All right, welcome to the Park and Recreation Commission regular meeting, October 19th, 2023. The time is 6:01 p.m. Becky, can you please call roll?
Yes. Commissioner Cabrales?
Here.
Commissioner Emerson? Looks like she is absent. Chair Gutierrez?
Here.
Commissioner Machado is absent as well. And Commissioner Sandoval?
Here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's call agenda item number 1, approval of the regular meeting minutes from September 21st. Are there any changes, additions? Anyone have any questions? Okay, can I get a motion and a second to approve the regular meeting minutes?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the minutes of September 21st.
I second.
All right, we're ready for a vote.
All right, Commissioner Cabrales?
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Yes.
And Commissioner Sandoval?
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any members of the public in here, so we don't need to open public comment in the room on any matters not listed on the agenda. So, closing public comment. Staff does not need to respond to anything. We'll move on to number 2, which is empty. So we're on to number 3. Let's see, Darcy, introduce the next agenda. No, that's from last time.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. That's from last meeting. I didn't edit that one.
Why don't we go to the biannual parks projects and maintenance status report?
So I am gonna introduce Joanna here in just a minute. I'll let you introduce yourself. Actually, you can probably do a much better job than me, but just as kind of an intro here and refresher. In the past, we used to bring this on a quarterly basis, but last year we had conversations with you and internally and realized that this might be better suited as a biannual update and report. But this is our report from our Department of Public Works team in collaboration with us on parks projects that might pertain to this commission that you might be interested in. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Joanna.
Great, thanks, Craig. And thanks for having me here tonight. I'm Joanna. I'm the senior civil engineer for our safety group in Public Works. And tonight I'm going to be providing an update on our parks projects and maintenance in the past 6 months. So recently,
Share this report. Becky, can you see this okay?
Yes, thank you.
okay, so our most recently completed parks project was the Sun Valley Park Playground renovation, which we completed in June, and we had a ribbon cutting in July. This was largely funded by our Measure A grant program, and then we also had some funding from Prop 68. This project included replacement of the playground area, including the equipment, the fiber surfacing, and the ADA access around the park, and also a new ADA parking stall in street on Solano.
Joanna, I was just going to add too, today is Arbor Day. And our parks maintenance crew was at Sun Valley Park today, and Mayor Kate and Councilmember Hill were also present to kind of acknowledge and celebrate Arbor Day, issue a proclamation. And then the parks maintenance crew planted, I think, 5 or 6 new 24-gallon trees around the perimeter of that park. So if you get a chance to go check it out, you're going to see several new trees there. So not part of this project, but some recent work, which is really great.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Yeah. So, and next up, with our active projects, we're still working on the Shoreline Park restroom. The majority of the project is complete, but we're working with PG&E to get an easement for the electrical service and to get that provided to the facility. For Albert Park, we had 3 separate scopes for this park area, which include a ramp, restroom, and netting. The ADA ramp and restrooms were completed last year, but we're still working on the netting, and As you may or may not know, we've kind of gone out to bid and we've done some redesign for the netting project. But unfortunately, the latest bid that we received about a month ago was deemed non-responsive based on our bid analysis, and it also came in over budget. So staff is going to be recommending to City Council to reject that bid. And city staff, we met earlier this week to try to think of other potential opportunities to improvements for the netting. And we're still going to be meeting and discussing more of that.
I'm sure I think, the real crux of this issue here is what's the scope that we need to tackle with the park? And we've really been trying to understand what is the scope. I think we're concerned about risk management first and foremost with that volleyball netting. And there are gaps right now where we're concerned that it's possible that spectators could be hit by those line drive balls. I think those are the ones we're most concerned about. There's no way that we would ever be able to fully eliminate the risk of a foul ball flying out in that stadium. So as we've been assessing that project and the scope, the first two bids that came in way too high, we said, well, we have to reevaluate and assess. And I think even though this most recent bid was non-responsive, the bid that we received was significantly higher than the engineer's estimate. So I think we are still really trying to understand what can we do that is going to be effective, but also not be cost prohibitive for us to tackle this project. So we're hoping that with these ongoing conversations, we're going to find some solutions for that.
Thank you. So our next up is our Piccoli Park Enhancement Project. This is one of the largest projects that we're undertaking right now with city staff, and it includes, replacing the turf field and also other amenities like the basketball court, fitness equipment, and renovating the bathroom and all other improvements. We found out recently that we were successful in getting the LWCF grant, which is about $4.2 million towards the project. Yeah, it's extremely exciting, and Craig worked really hard to help us with the application. And but on the other end, we also applied for the Clean California grant, and we weren't successful in getting that. So I think staff is meeting, and we're looking at the 65% design drawings to see what we could do some value engineering so that we can still move forward with this project, but within our budget.
Nice. This is, I think, like you mentioned, Joanna, one of the largest projects, probably the largest park project the city has taken on in recent years. And so, the total budget for this project is going to wind up being around $8.4 million. $4.2 million from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and then the city is committed to matching those grant funds with an additional $4.2 million. And we've talked about this project a lot here, but the primary program element that we're focused on is the replacement of the field with all-weather turf. So that's going to continue to be part of this project no matter what. There's a lot of other components that are part of the grant that we're going to need to make sure we fulfill. So we'll make sure we focus on those. But as Joanna mentioned, I think we're trying to make sure that we do this in a way that fits within the budget. And right now, some of the cost estimates we've received are going to put us a little over budget, and that's where that value engineering component comes in. So still looking at pursuing maybe other funding opportunities, but I think the reality is, given the timeline, we need to make some decisions about making sure that we can deliver on this project within the funding buckets that we have right now. So I think that's where we're at with it. And so I'm really excited about this. I think we've got some really good clarity on the project now about the direction we need to go in the next couple of years. I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to get into construction next year. I would have loved to be here and said, hey, we got that Caltrans grant too, because that I think would have added some additional program components that could have been really great. But at the same time, probably not essential for the project. So yeah, I think all in all, we're still very pleased with the outcome of the program right now. Sorry, I just keep jumping in here.
No, it's perfect. I mean, these are projects we're partnering together with, right? So thank you for filling in. Okay, next, we've got our Peacock Gap Park Playground renovation project. Similar to what we did for Sun Valley, we're looking at how we can replace our current play area along with looking at providing ADA access to the playground and maybe replacing some landscaping and picnic tables and benches in the close vicinity of the area. And we recently advertised a request for proposal for this to bring on a design consultant, and we're going to be reviewing proposals later this month. It's going to be really exciting. I think we're looking pretty good to completing our design in 2024 and then moving on to the construction the following year. Thank you. And then up to our maintenance update, there was a leak at Albert Park for the irrigation. So our maintenance staff had worked to get that repaired, as you can see in the photo to the left. And we feel, you know, we do our annual maintenance of the field because of all the holes and then just the wear and tear of the field. And with our project that's upcoming and replacing of the all-weather turf, we're no longer going to be faced with having to close it down for 6 months out of the year. And then our next up, just our regular maintenance note. Since we are getting close to the winter season, a lot of our park staff is going to be helping out with our streets team to clear out all the storm drain and make sure we're ready for the winter season, and also to help with storm response if there are any issues. But we'll still make sure that the basic maintenance for all the parks is still happening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any questions? Any questions?
So the $4 million grant and then the matching makes it possible to do the field. Is
Yes.
that it is possible to do that? That is okay, great.
Yeah, and that is, we received initial confirmation that we were going to get that LWCF grant about a year ago, if I recall. We received a press release from the state, from NPS, but it was kind of just like unofficial notification. So we had very high hopes that we were pretty sure, but we didn't get that final notification until just a few weeks ago. And so now that brings us up to work on an agreement with the Land and Water Conservation Fund through the National Park Service. So that's something I actually just received outreach from our state rep yesterday. So that we are going to be able to pursue that agreement. We will need to take that to City Council to authorize that. Once that's been taken care of, then we can start receiving those funds. And some of those funds are available to us pre-construction as well. So yeah, we're going to start working on that, and that does, just to confirm, like Joanna said, I think this is the ability to move forward on this project. So we do think we have adequate budget for the project. We just need to make sure that the final design reflects that budget.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do you know, would you be able to guess or give us any information on what pieces of that project wouldn't happen with the Cal Trans grant?
It's a great question. I think it's a little too early to get specific. I think what we're looking at is, obviously, we would love to retain every one of the project components that we identified and that the community identified that they would like to see there. I think first and foremost, we're going to take a look at maybe the overall, like the scope of each project component. So for an example, we have a lot of vegetation areas, with a lot of trees and shrubs and irrigation, and looking at the overall project, we would love to do all of that. But are there areas where it's really needed or it makes sense, and what's the cost associated with that? And not necessarily eliminating all those areas, but maybe there's certain little pockets where we can go out to the park and really say, do we need to redo this, or could our maintenance crew just go in and freshen it up along with this project? So there may be some cost savings there. I think another area we were looking at and talked about was like concrete pathways. For example, there was a concrete pathway that went all the way around the perimeter and the inside of the field. And we talked about that and said, well, is it needed? Is it required? And it's not required for the construction of the field itself. They don't need that as like an edge condition. So we talked about that. Well, is that something that would be the best community benefit, kind of the best bang for the buck with the dollars? And that might be an area where we say, well, it's not essential for this project to move forward and be successful. obviously we want to promote pedestrian access and walkways and pathways. I think like we're trying to just make sure we balance all of these different things and look for any possible areas for savings. All that said, you know, we may need to make some decisions with this project and eliminate certain project components. I think we're just not there yet. And so it's too soon to really get into the specifics.
Okay. Thank you. I just have one other question. I think last month we briefly touched on Albert conditions on the softball field side. Is there any maintenance work being sort of focused on that side of the field with regards to garbage and bleachers and or is that not on any list? Or
You know, I think since our last meeting, I have not heard of any other updates or work that's been planned there. I think, you know, I'll probably just echo the same thing I shared in the last meeting, that we've got a routine maintenance schedule that does address, you know, things like refuse pickup there as well as the maintenance of the field, but we've got capacity limitations all around. You know, particularly I would say like this time of year, as some of those seasons maybe come to an end, there's probably a lesser amount of resources available to handle that kind of maintenance. That being said, you know, we, like Joanna mentioned, we just had a meeting out there at Albert Field and talked with staff. We also met with a couple of the local coaches, and we've had recent meetings with the Pacifics and other user groups about field maintenance and about how important that is for the field to be maintained in a way that's safe, in a way that really is welcoming to the community. And we're going to continue to do the best we can to respond to that and address that need. I think, you know, we again just have to be realistic with our capacity, but we're looking for opportunities to try to make sure we can maintain that field in a way that that we feel it deserves. You know, it's a great amenity for the community, and I know we hear that just all the time how much people really appreciate both the baseball side and the softball side of that stadium. But I kind of refer back to our park and recreation master plan, and we identified that there's going to be limited resources for Albert Field and Stadium in particular for the next several years. It is not a project area that we've identified going to have a lot of resources for capital improvements or anything like that. But maintenance and potential community partnerships, that was a recommendation for us to find solutions for long-term field maintenance, as well as, you know, are there opportunities for community partnerships? So those are areas we're going to be looking at.
thank you. Yeah, I was going to say definitely encourage those community partnerships. I don't know how much money any of those youth or adult leagues have sitting in their nonprofit bank accounts, but some of them have stuff and it might be worth asking from time to time, you know, either volunteer hours or money. So, what those people can do to help. Thank you. I think we can move on to the community garden annual report.
Stop here. And let's. Thanks, Julian. You can stay if you want.
Yes, thank you. Hang out for a little bit.
Yeah. Give me just a second. I need to make sure I share this on. Oops.
Hey, Craig, do we need to make a motion on that report to accept it?
Thank you. That's a good reminder, Becky.
All right, let's go. Wonderful. Can I get a motion to receive the park projects maintenance status report?
I move to receive.
Parks. Thank you. Recreation.
Second.
All right.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson, Commissioner Gutierrez, or Chair Gutierrez?
Yes.
And Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion approved.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay. Well, at this time, I want to introduce Debbie Youngkin, our Senior Recreation Supervisor, who I'm sure is going to introduce some other folks here in just a minute.
So I want to introduce Christina Parking. She is the program coordinator who oversees the Boca Cultural Center. as well as the art that goes on at Falkirk and the community gardens that San Rafael has. And tonight, in honor of her last meeting with the city of San Rafael, as she's leaving us to head to Spain in a couple of days for a new career opportunity. She has graciously agreed to be here this evening to give us an update on the gardens before she leaves. So with that,
Thank you. So yeah, this report will be more of a updates, not so much of anything that's changing. So we'll start with a brief overview on the Canal Community Gardens. I'm sure you guys are very aware. So it was formerly operated by the Canal Alliance from 2013 to 2017. The city took it back over in 2017. There are 92 raised beds, including 48 half plots, 32 full plots, and 12 ADA raised plots. We also have a greenhouse and a shed that it's filled with communal tools in there for gardeners as well. It is on a first come first served basis with a wait list of about 5 right now. We have upped our work days per year, we've been providing more work days per year, so that way there's more opportunities for gardeners to be able to attend those 2 that they're required. So we're kind of shooting to have at least around 4 per year. We still have a garden committee.
Christina, can I interrupt you? We chose to add additional garden work days because last year when we came to you to review the guidelines, we had suggested implementing a fee if you don't attend the work days. So now we're providing people with more opportunities to attend, so they don't have to pay the fee, or they can choose to just opt to pay the fee and not have to worry about committing to a couple work days.
And then the plots are reserved for the calendar year, and existing gardeners may renew as long as they're still San Rafael residents and all in compliance and all of that good stuff. Terra Linda, very similar, created in the 70s. There's 70 plots there. 63 of them are 450 square feet, and 7 of them are 225 square feet. And we do have 2 ADA compliant plots. And first come first serve waitlist process, but that garden does have a bigger waitlist of about 90 people on there. Similar workday requirement, garden committee, and same thing with plots being renewed each year. So here are some revenue expenditure numbers. So the Terra Linda Garden in 2022 brought in about $8,300. In 2023, about $8,400. The Canal Garden about $4,200, and then in 2023 $4,500. In terms of expenses, we you can see there's a little bit more for the fiscal year 2023-2024. We just have decided that we each garden kind of needs more regular maintenance, so we've contracted a landscape company. Some of the work that needs to be done is just not things that the gardeners are capable of doing during the work days as much as they can try. It's just over the year it just gets kind of crazy out there. So that's kind of why supplies has kind of gone up a little bit, and that's for both gardens. Anything you want to say?
No, just as you can see, the gardens are heavily subsidized when you factor in the personnel costs associated with maintaining the gardens.
Okay. So some updates. So we have recently gotten, I wish this picture down here is a little clearer. So we've recently added these signs down here. They basically are just signs for the fruit trees. We have a whole row of communal fruit trees out there. We've had some issues with theft in the last few months. So we're hoping with some signage and some phrasing that says, you know, take a few, leave a few, that maybe it will stop gardeners from maybe taking a little too much, or anyone from the public from coming in and just taking what they want. So it seems to, we've gotten a good response from that signage. They're bilingual, so it's kind of a good recent addition that we've had. Along that strip of trees, there's been a lot of progress made with weeding and all of that, and that was something that the gardeners did a great job of taking care of in the last few work days. They put together a cherry picking event in June, so it was mainly a kid friendly event. So our families came out and picked all the cherries from the cherry tree, and you can kind of see some of the ones that are picked here. And they planted corn for the first time this year in one of the corners. We were just trying to discourage gardeners from planting corn in their own plots just because it gets so big and can cast shade on other plots. That was something that was successful as well this year. And for the first time, the garden is participating in the Dia de los Muertos event and having an altar. So that'll be exciting.
Also, I just want to back up and just say that we've been fortunate that Christina is bilingual, so she's been able to make a lot of connections with the community out there that is primarily Spanish speaking, which has really helped a lot with communication and making sure that everybody understands the same guidelines. And this last year, we've had a very active garden committee who has been approaching Christina with lots of ideas and letting them know what their challenges are out there. And Christina has been very proactive and in signage and getting somebody out there to help clear additional space so they can grow in different areas. And the Canal Garden is really focused a lot about the community and utilizing every resource to make it a value for those people who participate in the Canal Garden.
Yeah. This one's an exciting new thing for the Terra Linda Garden. So we were approached about 2 months ago, very recently, by the Marin School of Environmental Leadership at Nevada Terra Linda High School, that was interested in partnering with us for their semester-long project. So they kind of came at us with some really great ideas, and it kind of aligned exactly with what we were kind of looking to do in the future. We have a space in where one of the ADA compliant beds is that we've been looking into possibly getting some raised beds built there, similar to what we kind of already have. And just we've been looking into getting the plot numbers redone and all of that. So just projects that for them kind of worked out perfectly. So we're kind of in the process of working with them on how that can work and what that will look like. So I was there last week with them and took a group of the students over to the garden and showed them what it looks like and what we're looking for and challenges that we have in the garden, what the gardens are used for. A lot of them didn't realize it was part of the city and what the whole idea of community gardens are. So that's something I'm a little bummed that I won't get to see that, but it seems like it's gonna be a really exciting project that the city's partnering with.
And along those lines, hopefully a member of the garden will be working with the MSL students to help the project from start to finish. They're doing more than just building the raised beds and creating signage. In Christina's conversations with them last week, it's going to be about communication, educating people on the importance of community gardens, possibly doing some press releases out there, just getting the word out about the value of the community garden.
And once I was in the classroom, I kind of realized how big of a communication component it is more for them, because these are freshman students that don't really know how to communicate, and via email and, the way we all email professionally or communicate professionally. So it was interesting to hear the teacher say, this is how you guys are going to communicate with the grown-ups, so it's interesting to see that side as well, that, I wasn't really thinking that until I heard that from the classroom side. So I think it'll be really interesting.
And they'll also be looking for the funding to go along with this project. So hopefully it won't come out of the city funds. It'll be from them reaching out to businesses and supporters.
Here's some pictures from the work days. Overall, between both gardens, we have seen an increased participation, which has been great. And I've heard feedback from both the committees that people have just seemed more excited and just really happy that we've been providing more opportunities, mornings, afternoons, Saturdays, Sundays. Just we kind of really gave a big variety. So that was great. And the garden really does look very maintained than what it kind of looked like when I first came in last year. So yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I did. I had one. I think I forgot. But is there going to be any concern about the transition when you leave? Like,
out
over here.
So we have one of our part-time staff who has stepped up to kind of oversee both gardens in the transition period. So he'd set up, some hours to be out there, meet the gardeners, and, Debbie will kind of hold up the communication side until someone's filled in. But yeah, we do have someone over there, and the committees know that they can reach out to Debbie whenever needed.
We are fortunate too that I have staff in my office who are also bilingual, and we have other staff within our department as well who can help move that communication out when it needs to be in other languages. And I have 16 years now with both gardens. So although I'm losing Christina, it has been fortunate the last couple of years I've been able to pass that duty on to a coordinator. So figure out how to juggle in her absence. It's not ideal, but we'll make it roll until we get the next person.
I would just echo that too. I mean, we're definitely going to miss having Christina around. I think that she's done a great job. And as you can see, there's some really wonderful improvements to the garden that we've experienced in the past year. And so thank you, Christina, for everything that you have. We'll miss you. And like Debbie mentioned, we have an interim plan in place. And one of the things that this is going to be my shameless plug. We are now recruiting for a coordinator. And so in addition to the community gardens, you might recall that Christine is responsible for the Falkirk Cultural Center, which is also in and of itself a big lift. We are expecting that that's going to be the same arrangement, and the recruitment that we put out right now is for the Falkirk Cultural Center and community gardens. Kind of a unique program coordinator. It's a program coordinator classification, and I don't remember exactly what the range is, but I will share that link with you. You can also see it's up on our website right now. That isn't active, so yeah, you can go out there and do the best you can to help us with that recruitment. We really appreciate it.
I had a question though about, I feel like I'm concerned about the wait list at Terra Linda. It doesn't seem equitable or fair. And I know that, I know that there's probably forces in place that don't want anything to change, but I'm just wondering, what are you guys' thoughts on either expanding to meet the demand? Because that's, you'll never get on the wait list. I mean, you'll never get there. And it doesn't seem fair that, given that this is subsidized by the city, that some people get this benefit and others do not, and it's not a need-based. So I'm just interested in what you guys think as far as incrementally making changes to something that has something different than just you get it and you're there forever.
So there actually has been a lot of conversations lately about is there room to expand? There's conversations over, as someone exits the garden, do we then look at dividing the plot in two to make more plot options available, just kind of over attrition and people moving on. And I think it's going to be, a bigger question of like, how do we want that process to go? We have gardeners out there, and once you get a plot, because the garden is located offsite and not near close management, you find a lot of gardeners will sometimes slowly increase their border size and just kind of go from there. So I think at some point the city might need to reconsider, how do we redo that garden in general, and figure out what the ideal size of plot is to be able to accommodate more people from the community who are interested in gardening, and just kind of coming up with that concept for us to work towards. Is there anything else missing?
I mean, considered like term limits, like you can have this garden for 4 years or 3 years, and then whoever's on the wait list gets to turn, or I mean, some people have probably been there for a long time.
Oh,
right?
Since we have a couple gardeners who've been there since it got started. So
yeah, I mean, I think we're open to ideas and suggestions, and I think that like Debbie mentioned, it's kind of complicated, right? I think you can imagine that if you're a gardener who's been there for 15, 20, 30 years, that you have a very well-established relationship, not only with that garden plot, but with the community there. And so there's some complexity from that perspective. But as you mentioned, I think our number one priority as a public agency is to make sure that we're providing amenities in an equitable way, in a way that's fair to the community. And so we have been having these conversations and trying to understand, well, what is the right approach to expand capacity, particularly at the term. And like Debbie mentioned, I'll just echo everything you just said again. There are ways to do that. Each of those has different pros and potential, cons or unintended consequences. And I think prior to making any, big decisions about that. I think we really want to make sure we understand that and are informed about those decisions. So, I think for the time being, what we have done is like through attrition, as Debbie mentioned, we have been looking at those opportunities to try to expand and maybe take one plot that's a larger parcel and partition it out to maybe 2 plots or more. I think the other thing I'd mention is I think there's a new Measure A grant opportunity that was just announced by the county. It's called the FAIR grant. And I don't remember what that stands for, FARE. It's like something agricultural. It's essentially really focused on agriculture, gardening, those types of pursuits. And this is brand new. That's kind of triggered this conversation. We know that our gardens are likely eligible for this funding, and we know we have a need at our gardens. I think the key thing we've been looking at applying for is probably staff support. As you saw, a big chunk of our expenses for the gardens are tied up in personnel costs to be there to really help enforce the rules, help make sure that our gardeners understand how to use these amenities in a way that's really going to contribute to the overall community and do that in a positive way. And I know that our staff spend a lot of time with that kind of just enforcement and education. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to apply for this grant, and that might be able to help support us in that way. I think, if we were able to find some grant funding, that might also free up resources to start to look at these bigger picture, kind of issues and concerns that we have with the garden and start to put together a strategy to solve those. Anything else, Christine?
Have the newer guidelines helped at all? Have they made things easier to? I know that was one of the goals, so that there was less man hours needed. Is that been achieved?
Not necessarily less man hours, only because it's kind of twofold. We have now the coordinator who is managing both gardens, so making sure that adequate time is spent for both gardens, whereas before it was directly under me, as well as multiple other areas. She's able to provide more support to the gardens than what I could. So Christina's been able to take it to a new level. The guidelines help streamline problems that come up and being able to, direct people to the problem. And also it's great because both gardens have the same guidelines. So it's not like we're seeing one thing at one garden and one thing at another. It is the same, these, you need to follow these certain guidelines. So that's been very helpful. Good.
I just want to add one more note about equity. Both of these gardens, I think, provide a really important and valuable contribution to the community. I think, in the Canal neighborhood in particular, we know how densely populated the canal is and how little available space there is to garden. And so I think that's really important for us to keep in mind. I think that's also true. We know that many of the gardeners in the Terra Linda community, they do have economic limitations. And so I think just keeping that in mind, I don't think we have a direct expectation that this program becomes self-supporting. I think one of the things we're looking at is our program philosophy and an assessment of our cost recovery model. And I think we can continue to evaluate that. But that's not necessarily the goal here with this program, because we do think that there are a lot of gardeners who really benefit from this program and really value it and may need it as a food source. So I just want to keep that in mind too from that equity perspective.
Thank you. You answered the question I had, which was budget. And if I could just, my only thought is if assuming the supply costs go up, everything's going up. It will continue to do that if in my sort of, I don't know, opinion, it feels like the fees should cover the supply costs. I feel like the personnel is sort of a fixed city cost. Like if the gardens went away, we'd probably still have these people in offices working and stuff. But that supply cost system keep going up, especially if we're hiring outside help on the maintenance. We just did a fee rejiggering last year. I know that's a long process, but I would encourage the department to kind of consider that sort of equation in real terms. Like everything's going up, and we can't keep raising the garden rates at 1% when costs are going up to 10%. It's just not feasible for the city. And I see that as personally, I see that as a supply thing. I think personnel just built into whenever I pay property taxes and everyone else pays and sales tax, or I would say something. But certainly supplies feels like a target. All right, so I think we're gonna receive the report. So can I get a motion to receive the report? And thank you.
Commissioner Sandoval, a motion to receive the report.
Commissioner Cabrales, I second.
All right. Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Sherry Gutierrez,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
You. All right, our last report, the Taylorville Community Center annual report.
Do you know how to navigate to it? It should be open.
Are you sure?
Measuring what?
Screen? Or does it matter?
Yeah, you'll have to share it through Zoom.
Go back. Where's my cursor?
Is
it on there?
Like all the way in the corner.
Hello? Is
Yeah.
it on there? Okay, there.
Go out. You enjoy the this is a little bit presentation. Go no, that's well, then check down.
I'm Tiffany Haley. I think we all met, program coordinator at the Terrell Community Center. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I would love to add to that. Tiffany Haley has been a program coordinator for the last, 8 years now? But she did originally get her start at the Terrell Pool, 15 years ago. And I'm also sad to say that tonight is her last commission meeting, and the city of Novato poached her to be their new aquatic supervisor. So she will be running the Hamilton Pool next summer. Yeah, and I can't look at her because I might start cheering. So along that note,
Today, we'll go in with our annual aquatics review. Our Terrell Pool. Okay. Did I do that? I guess so. Okay, so a little bit about the Terrell Pool. We have lap swim and recreation swim. Both numbers jumped from last year. Lap swim almost doubled. When I was updating the report here, last year we had about 450 lap swim hours. So we were able to add additional lap swim in spring. We were able to open lap swim up in March, which is normally in April. And then we had added a little bit of recreation hours as well. In July, on Friday, since July is Park and Rec month, we decided to keep the pool open an hour later on Friday and Saturday evenings for rec swim. Our pool parties, again, like more than doubled from last year. So we have a few different options for pool parties. The picture in the background, you can get 2 picnic tables that are underneath a shade structure. You pay an hourly rate, and then you pay the resident rate for admission. That's a 2-hour minimum for the picnic sites. And then last year, we turned our indoor classroom into a pool party rental. And last year we had
maybe 2.
1, maybe 2. And this year we had 5 indoor pool parties. So they get a classroom, air conditioning if they want it, up to 30 guests. So the indoor pool party package includes the rental and admission for up to 30 people. And then we also have end of the school pool parties that are usually the last 2 weeks of school. And we had 9 total of those, and they get the pool from 10 to 1, just strictly the school that rents it. Yeah. What did I say? 10 to 1.
Swim lessons, our group swim lessons, we offer levels 1 through 7, starting at the age of 3. And then our parent taught class is ages 6 months to 36 months. Our swim lessons are Monday through Thursday, so 1 week sessions. And we were able to do it from June 12th to August 10th this year. So we had 8 sessions. We took the 4th of July week off. And we had 450 participants in group swim lessons. And last year we had 196. This year we did also add evening lessons. Once we knew we had swim instructors to teach in the evening, we then were able to open up evening swim lessons Monday through Thursday. Private lessons, that offers a bit more flexibility for families and or individuals. We offer a one-on-one or semi-private. And this year we had 753 private lessons, and last year we had 342.
Also just want to comment on that. So with the private swim lesson program, we do things a little bit differently. You submit your request, you let us know, I would like 5 days in a row, I would like just 5, once a week lessons. We pair you with the same instructor. So that way you have consistency with your instructor for the entire summer. Allows you the flexibility. Sometimes it's a little problematic because we do have to find the right instructor to connect with you. It can take a little time, but once you find that niche, you potentially have an instructor you can work with the entire summer, and a lot of the parents really appreciate that connection. And another really nice thing about our swim lessons this summer is that we've seen an increase in adults taking swim lessons, private swim lessons, and we have 3, I'll say older adults because they're not in their 20s or their teens, who taught for us this year. And those 3 individuals actually were, 2 of them are new, but they also were willing to try to work with kids who have special needs. So we were also able to increase our capacity to provide programming for kids in need as well. So, and kudos to Tiffany, because it is a lot to juggle all those requests and parents and payments and instructors and keep it all going. It's just a constant juggle.
Camp TL, it was formerly Splash Camp, if anyone remembers that. We changed it to Camp TL during the pandemic. We do hope that to bring Splash Camp back. The difference between Splash Camp and Camp TL is at Splash Camp, they did get a swim lesson Monday through Thursday. We just put them in with our group lessons. So we're hoping to bring that back. But this year we had 7 sessions. They're Monday through Friday, about 8 to 1. And we had 67 participants. It's for kids entering 1st through 3rd grade. They go to the park, they arts and crafts, games, activities, and they still do get some pool time.
And this program is low numbers. We only take about 12, 14 kids max, depending on what's going on, especially with the younger age. We want to provide a program that is beneficial to kids who don't want to be in that camp of 40 to 60 kids. And parents seem to really appreciate that. And we provided the flexibility that if a parent wanted to sign up for swim lessons, we would make sure that that child got the swim lessons and they got back to camp.
And our junior guard camp is for ages 10 to 12. They work on like the basic lifeguard skills, so entries, water rescues, back or head and back injuries, first aid. They still do arts and crafts, lanyards, really, that's their thing. They do games like teamwork, team building. We had a great camp director this year.
For both Camp Teal and junior guards.
I forgot about Camp Teal. And so let's see, they had we offered 2 sessions of junior lifeguard camp, and there was a total of 19. So we'd still like to keep that anywhere from 10 to 14 participants with pool space and just equipment and focus on safety.
Those are the kids that we're hoping in a couple of years will want to come work at Taylor.
Our lifeguard training courses, we had 4 sessions this year, 47 participants. 8 of those participants were our own staff. Just to go back a little bit, 65% of our staff were returning from last year. So last year the hired number was 40, 41 or something. So it's great to see so many of them coming back this year. Staff training, we do daily trainings. So our head guards will do daily trainings. Myself or Debbie will do daily trainings with them. We also have weekly in-services that are an hour and a half in length. This year we closed for 1 day in June and we had an all-day staff training. We were able to hire an individual who owns the Total Guard, which is teamwork-oriented training for advanced lifeguards. So they started in the classroom. They covered like the latest findings in aquatic research and then spent the rest of the day at the pool or around the pool, teamwork, problem solving, decision making, conditioning. And then we also do orientations that are that we lead. So orientations for lifeguards and instructors, cashiers. And we had 44 hours total of training.
And the Total Guard is a really nice addition to our training because it's someone who is an expert. He served as an expert witness in drownings. He will show you different techniques and tips and tricks, and just really get you focused on what are you going to do when that situation happens and are you prepared to respond. So.
And here's just our participation numbers from this year. Most program areas increased. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 that didn't. But it is nice to see that we are inching closer to numbers from pre-pandemic. We're still a bit away from 2019, but we are every year. Our participation numbers are growing, so it is nice to see that.
Oh, you're good.
Anything?
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Questions on the aquatics?
Any questions?
So I'll just tell you a little bit about Terrellinda Community Center. You have the staff report, but I didn't do as detailed of a PowerPoint. So apologies for that. I've been a little busy trying to figure out how to recruit for 2 positions. But along those lines, we have seen an increase in our programs for both youth and adults. Our ceramics program has really expanded. It is probably our most popular program that we have at the community center, and she is there teaching. I think she's up to 6 days a week between youth and adult classes. She's won best of awards for the last 3 or 4 years. And in addition to that, our bridge program that used to run 5 days out of the week, sometimes twice a week, is starting to come back and expand. So we're seeing an increase in numbers there, and that's primarily older adults. So we're seeing from both spectrums of actually from the younger kids, we've added a Little Angels playtime group on Thursday mornings to our ceramics program, and then our bridge program. And exercise classes are at capacity as well. Jazzercise has expanded their programming to come in a couple of nights a week. Basically, we don't have a lot of downtime at the community center. We even have Saturday classes. And we're seeing an increase in our rentals where not necessarily for the big party rentals, which is harder for me to staff, but for the people who are looking for the 2-3 hour birthday party in the community center. That seems to be a great little niche for the community, finding indoor space, especially with the winter coming up and the rains. We rent the go-to space, or even during the summer, we got a lot of requests. So overall, our programming is starting to increase, which means our revenue is going up, and we're seeing the community about And a lot of new neighbors stopping by lately, so I can tell there's a lot of houses for sale, people just popping in and stumbling up on us and seeing where we are. And actually, when I double checked revenue today, we're up to 42% of our revenue coming in, which is a little ahead of where we normally are at this time. And that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions there?
No.
I just want to add a couple notes on both program areas. I think one is I just want to pass along my appreciation for Tiffany and the work that she and Debbie have done for the aquatics programs. I think as you've seen in the numbers, participation is up. You know, I think we're rebounding from COVID, and that's in large part due to the efforts that Tiffany has put in to build a really positive culture with the staff team and build that recruitment and retention. You know, that goes such a long way. So thank you for all the work that you put in there. And likewise with Terra Linda, the community center, it's it is the oldest community center we have, but it's one of the busiest community centers that we have. And one of the things that I just wanted to highlight is our plan to develop a site-specific master plan for Terra Linda Park. And we've talked about that here. We just recently drafted a request for proposal to bring on a consultant that we would like to help with that plan. You know, that it will likely go out to, it will publish that proposal here in the next month. We're hoping to get that out to work here maybe by the end of October. Bring a consultant on board in early 2024, and then start some of that community outreach to really better understand what the future needs will be at Terra Linda Park, as well as for the community center itself. We think the aquatics facilities are in pretty good shape. We are not focusing any of that master plan on the aquatics program or the facilities, because we think that right now the facilities that we're providing in the community are meeting community needs. But I do think that, of course, from a program level, just being so integrated to the park, we'll probably have conversations. I just want to make sure that you were aware that that plan is coming soon, and we're really trying to be forward thinking to meet not only the current need, but the future needs of North San Rafael and the Terra Linda community, knowing that there's development taking place. There is expected growth in that community, and we want to make sure that that community center and park will meet future needs. So as we go through that process, we'll keep you updated.
Thank you. Any questions on all our presentations? All right, well, thank you all. I'll summarize. We'll go ahead and accept the report in a minute, but thank you all so much for this massive amount of hard work, especially just noting that it's end of summer and you're probably tired. So thank you. Really quickly, one step back, can we invite one of the MCEL students here at the end of the program and have them get presented? I think that would be fun.
What is that? What the term is for that, Christina? When will that
Probably
program
April
end?
and May, I guess.
It's like 6 months, right?
Yeah, like a
It's
semester.
two phases, right? There's two phases. There's the kids who are starting on the project now with the development of the project and the concept. And then I believe in January, when they come back from winter break, is the next group who will work on the building and the design. So I anticipate sometime in next April or May is when I think the teachers said that they would all come together.
Great. Yes. Fun. Okay, so commission, let's go ahead and make motion. Motion. All right. Thank you. Okay.
I second the motion.
All right, Commissioner Emerson? Chair Gutierrez?
Yes.
Did I miss? I missed Cabrales.
Yes.
I'm sorry. And Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, you guys, thank you.
No,
And
you guys stick around here for just a quick minute.
please stick around here.
You know, it's their last one. I should have to wait until they're very end, right?
Agenda items, back up to the end.
Yeah, I think we're up for the staff liaison report. Is that what's next?
Yes.
Well, I want to take the first couple minutes to just, I know we've talked about both Tiffany and Christine already, but I just want to take a minute to appreciate them for their work and acknowledge them, and Debbie and I both really just wanted to share our thanks with this commission and make sure that you were aware of how wonderful they meant for us. We're really sad to see them go, but we're also not surprised that they're going. You know, part of my philosophy, I've been working in recreation programs for a really long time, and so I've worked with a lot of great people, and I've seen a lot of people go. And initially, I was like, "Why are they leaving? Why aren't they staying with us?" But to me, if they're not leaving and if they're not taking new jobs, new positions, then we failed them. And I think that I just want to appreciate Debbie for your supervision and your leadership to help prepare these two for bigger and better things, because we know that they're going to share what they've learned here and the great work that they've done in other places. And so on that note, real quick, I need to grab these. Debbie got you both. Okay. So no, you gotta stand up. I'm gonna if you stand up and you see them here.
I should also note that when I talk about growing our own employees, Christina started as an aquatic aide, and Tiffany started as a cashier.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
We're doing a picture.
Christina, thanks for everything that you've done for the city. I know it's been about a year that you've been with us.
I think it was a year this week.
And I know that
That's probation.
But I know you faced a lot of challenges with Falkirk, you know, kind of changing situations up there, as well as the community gardens. Those are not easy program areas to supervise and coordinate. So thanks for everything that you've done for this, Cindy. Really enjoyed working with you and excited for you. I don't know if we shared.
I know, are you able to share what you're doing?
Yeah, we're working for a small startup in marketing. They make customized Lego kits, super random. But yeah, so I have a long history with Spain, so this was kind of expected for you guys who know me. So yeah, it all just kind of came out of the blue, and very excited. Yeah.
And Tiffany, 16 years with the city, is that accurate?
Yeah.
That is a long time to be the city.
and with me.
Yeah, all with Debbie.
And I couldn't possibly summarize. I mean, I've been here working with you for just a short chunk of that, you know, the past year and a half. In that time, it's been not only, you know, fun, but I think you've done an incredible job navigating really challenging situations. You know, the impact of COVID on aquatics programs nationwide was felt. And I don't know if any of you remember, but about, it was last year in July, there was a real national lifeguard shortage. So, you know, the Bay Area news crews are up here interviewing Tiffany about how she was responding to that. And you just did a remarkable job of working your way through that and building that positive staff culture. In addition to that, both of these two have done an incredible job within our internal staff culture. They are the fun committee extraordinaires. They help do all the fun stuff. They help make sure that we have a great time and have fun at work. And we're going to miss you. So don't be strangers. Make sure you come back. You can come back and sit in the commission meetings if you want to.
I won't be that far.
I'll be a little far. I'll be here in spirit.
But thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Debbie, anything you want to say?
Yeah, they're phenomenal, and I'm very fortunate.
Thank you. So just a couple of, I'm going to try and keep it short because I don't know if you know me, but I like to talk a lot. So I'm going to share a couple things though. One is we were kind of just evaluating our agenda packet for these meetings, and you know, in the past we've been sharing kind of a memo that has a schedule of events and things. We may not include that moving forward, but I may just include as a verbal update. But definitely, if it's something that you really appreciated or you wanted to see in there, we're happy to reconsider that. But we did not include it in this particular packet. A couple things going on that were already mentioned. The Dia de los Muertos, the car procession and altar display is October 21st. The trick or treat on 4th Street, October 28th. And then the Dia de los Muertos, the celebration at Borough Community Center in Pickle Park is on November 4th. City Council meeting, the next meeting will be November 6th. And that is a date I wanted to just invite you to attend. because we will be sharing a proclamation to celebrate Mark Machado for his years of service as a Park and Recreation Commissioner. So I've invited him, confirmed that he's available, and so we will be there. That will be shared during the kind of the beginning of the meeting, the special presentation portion of the meeting. So definitely invite you if you're available to attend, and if any of you wanted to say any, remarks about your time working with Mark and the commission. Sadly, he couldn't be here tonight. I kind of yelled at him. I was like, "You can't be here for the last commission meeting that you're scheduled for." So yeah, no flowers for Mark. Program coordinator recruitments I mentioned to you. I just wanted to share it again. We are going to be recruiting for 2 program coordinator positions with very unique skill sets and expertise. So if you know of anyone that might be interested, you can send them our way. I want to share a quick update about our child care program and portables. I think as we've shared with you a couple times, they're having some changes to our programs at the San Rafael City School sites, Glenwood and Pullman. So we are not going to be operating at Pullman next school year. We're working right now with the school district to kind of just work out the plan and that transition. We will be operating there through the last day of school, but will not likely be running any summer programs at the Pullman Center just due to their construction schedule and their needs to get in there and start doing that work. At Glenwood, we have established a new partnership with them, and we're bringing in new students through their ELOP program right now. So I think as of right now, we have about 10 students that we've received in addition to our normal headcount of around 68 to 72. And we are looking to continue to expand our programs at Glenwood. We're going to be moving out of our existing portable classroom there into the multi-purpose room next year. And I'm just sharing this with you to kind of keep you aware that the childcare team has done a really incredible job in navigating all of these different changes. So I want to share a kudos and a shout out to them to really keep enrollment up during this school year. They also had a really impressive summer. This year in the 2023 fiscal year was the first year post-COVID that we had a positive net revenue. So in spite of some of these challenges and changes, they're just doing a really wonderful job. Last week, the Age-Friendly San Rafael group, who recently presented here, they shared a ageism training with the director and bid managers. We have a quarterly meeting with that group. It's about 45 to 50 people. And they came in and shared a really nice presentation about the importance of ageism. And I'm not sure if you may have seen it, but there was a recent Marin Independent Journal article about ageism around Halloween, around kids dressing up as older people. And whether that is good or bad. And I thought it was a really interesting article, very coincidental timing, but an interesting read if you want to check it out. I already mentioned Mark and his departure from the commission, which leaves a vacancy. Commissioner Emerson term was also up. We just had interviews on Monday the 16th for Park and Recreation Commissioners, and I'm pleased to announce that Cicely is going to be returning again for a new term, so to be staying on the commission, but we will also have a new commissioner that's going to be joining us. It's Andre Pasternak. I'm not sure some of you may be familiar with him. He is the president of the Terra Linda Orca swim team. So he's, I'll let him maybe share a little more about himself when he gets onto the commission, but he'll be joining us at the November meeting next month. So we're going to be excited to welcome him and really just looking forward to his views and perspectives and what he can contribute to the commission. And then looking ahead to November, our next meeting is typically kind of a big one for this group to make some decisions about the 2024 calendar. We'll be sharing a draft work plan with you that gives you a kind of an idea of the roadmap that we as staff are thinking about bringing information and content to you next year. So we'll be looking for your feedback on that. The other point of decision will be appointments to the chair and vice chair roles on an annual basis. We reassess those. Those are one-year term appointments. So we'll have an opportunity to bring those appointments forward to you, and you'll have a chance to vote on those roles moving forward for 2024. In addition, we'll need to appoint a representative to the Pickleweed Advisory Committee. Mark Machado was the representative for that group. And we'll be looking for someone to be the representative from here to attend those meetings. And that's all I've got for you tonight.
Great, thank you. Commissioner reports. Does anybody want to comment or share any reports on meetings, conferences, or seminars attended? All right. I've spent a lot of time at Pickle Week this fall. It looks lovely. Staff over there is doing a great job. We had the pleasure of being at a soccer game, a youth soccer game on one side, and there was an adult soccer game on the other, and it was like hundreds of people cheering and going nuts. It was great. Very happy community moment. And I think that's it. So we'll go ahead and adjourn at 7:11. Great.
Yeah. One last shout out before we end that recording. So our Movies in the Park crew, who I know these two were involved indirectly too. That was just a miss on my part. We had the movie in the park at Borough Community Center at Pickle Week Park, which was really, really fun. And then we also had the last one was at Durham Community Center. So very well attended movies this year with a lot of cross departmental collaboration across the city. So
thank you. Thank you. All right, 7:12. Back to you. 7:12. Let's get to you.